What's up everybody, my name is KSaun. Welcome back to another Pokemon Draft League video. Today's week number 5 of the PBA. We're facing off against GurtBilbo and we are fresh off of our first win of the season. Unfortunately, it took us 4 weeks to get there, but we finally got a W. We're sitting there with a 1-3 record, -5 differential, and we're facing Gurt, who is 3-1 with a +2 differential. And if this doesn't look tricky enough based on the records, the team is very scary, and Gurt specifically has a 2-0 record against myself in history. In the IBL, we faced off in week 1 of that regular season, also faced off in round 1 of the playoffs. He beat me both times. So far he has my number, and I'm going to have to try my best to try and overcome that and hopefully get the best of him in this match number 3. Taking a look at the left side, you can see what my roster is on the left side and his right next to it. He's got a Roaring Moon, Iron Valiant, Thundurus Incarnate, Terra Iron Moth, who can turn into the Ghost type, Cleaver, a Terra Wo-Chien. It was 4 different Terra types, Corviknight, Swampert, Slowbro, and Snorlax. I'll be honest guys, this video's quality might not be as good as some other weeks. I am doing this after the actual match was played. I played this match with him, I want to say about a week and a half ago, but due to a couple of other things, one, I was not able to do live recording. I actually got a phone call at the beginning of the battle with somebody, and so unfortunately I'm going to do post-com. I hope you guys still enjoy it, but just heads up, that is why I'm doing post-com in this match. And in terms of the team builder, I don't remember all of the specific reasons I did some of this stuff, but I'm at least going to take you through it and hopefully can go through my thought process a bit. The first mon that we are bringing this week, I ended up leading in the battle. I don't remember if this was my designated lead, but we do end up leading it. Stealth Rock we are bringing to basically set hazards on the other side of the field. Grass Knot is here specifically for the Swampert on the other side to catch it off guard. Flip Turn is here for momentum, and Roost is basically just here to heal us up. The Citrus Berry pops when we're at 50% HP to give us some extra health, and we are basically max HP and Spadef here with the Leviathan. My thought for this set is that offensively, I don't love Leviathan here into the team. I'm not really looking to do a ton of damage. My hope is just that I can soak some special hits, Roost, Flip Turn out, and basically set up hazards, and that's kind of the whole point of this mon here. The Grass Knot here is basically just for a surprise because Swampert is one of the only mons that really stand in the way of my Iron Boulder going crazy. If Iron Boulder gets a sword stance up with a booster energy speed, now spoiler alert, Iron Boulder's coming this week, Swampert takes those hits extremely well. So Grass Knot is here because basically if I can catch it off guard, Swampert will probably try to switch into Empoleon because on paper it seems like it counters it. If I can do maybe 3/4 of its HP with a Grass Knot, Iron Boulder no longer has that Swampert as an obstacle for it. The next mon we are bringing this week is Wheezing Galarian. I have Neutralizing Gas written here. That's actually incorrect. It's actually Misty Surge with the ability this week. And basically the main thought process for this is the Thundurus Incarnate on the other side. Again, going ahead of schedule a little bit, Iron Boulder is one of my win cons this week, and it goes crazy good into their team if the Swampert's out of the way, and also if Thundurus cannot paralyze it. It has the Prankster ability, which means increased priority. It can Thunder Wave before my Iron Boulder attacks, even if it already has the booster speed option. With Misty Terrain on the field, statuses do not work at all, so my thought process is if I'm able to get the Misty Surge ability going here, and I can get some of my other strong mons on the field, even something like a Zamazenta really doesn't want to get paralyzed, the Misty Terrain could actually be pretty useful here. I'm running Strange Steam, Overheat, Misty Explosion, and Taunt. My thought process for this week is Taunt is basically just to stop some of the low speed mons here for going for certain things that I don't want them to. Maybe I can stop a Swampert for going for Stealth Rocks or something, Slowbro especially for going maybe like a Trick Room, or, you know, Thunder Wave, Calm Mind, something like that. Snorlax as well, really to stop any sort of like Belly Drum or Curse setup type of thing. Strange Steam is here just for general damage, pretty decent into the roster, and Overheat is here with the Eject Pack to basically get priority into something else. My thought is that I can get the Misty Terrain up, Overheat out into my Iron Boulder, get a Sword Stance up, and just hopefully sweep from there. Another support mon here though, this is basically 3 for 3, although it's not full support as it is running a lot of offensive investment. Full HP, full attack with an Adamant Nature, Rocky Helmet, Intimidate, Landorus, Therian. We've got Odin. Stone Edge, Earthquake, U-Turn, and Taunt this week. Again, Taunt is really useful, especially against some of those slower mons. It stops an Iron Defense or a Defog from Corviknight. It stops the Leech Seed coming out from Wo-Chien, Stealth Rock from Swampert, again, anything from Snorlax and Slowbro is just really useful. U-Turn is always good momentum. Intimidate is also very, very nice. I don't know if it'll be a physical or a special Iron Valiant, but it's always useful into the Roaring Moon, as it is a physical attacker, and even something like a Cleavor, this thing checks it pretty well. The fourth mon in the team, of course, we're bringing it. We're bringing Body Press, Iron Defense, Crunch, and Light Screen on the Zamazenta, aka Fenrir. I don't remember why I chose Crunch over any other specific move, but basically the thought process behind this set was, with a Light Screen, I can proc a Weakness Policy in front of something, and Crunch, for the most part, is pretty safe into their team. I think that was my thought process, was there wasn't many things that resisted Crunch super well, like one of them being Roaring Moon, but that doesn't want to take a Body Press. So that was, I think, my overall thought here. And I think the other thing I was thinking was, if Iron Moth comes in and tries to turn into a Terra Ghost and stop my Body Press, that Crunch would be the move of choice here. I couldn't really think of a better item to run here. I just thought Weakness Policy could potentially catch Gurt off guard, and maybe I get some extra damage off. It also does a ton to the Thunderous Incarnate, who does want to take a Body Press because it's a flying type. So overall, it's an interesting set here. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to Iron Defense in front of something. If I do get the Misty Terrain up, there is a good possibility, but 128 SpDef, 104 speed, 252 HP, not a whole lot of offensive investment. We're basically made to take a hit, get a screen up, and hopefully just go 1-for-1 with something. That is honestly the goal here with the Zamazenta. My big breaker this week, but potentially a sweeper as well. Fire Blast, Dark Pulse, Nasty Plot, and Flame Charge on the Ifrit. Terra Fire, 16 HP, 252 special attack, and 240 into speed with a modest nature. We're rocking heavy duty boots. We've ran Choice Scarf basically every single week on the Ifrit so far. So far, he's been killing it. 8 kills, 3 deaths. However, this week, with the different hazards on the other side, I know they're going to go for Stealth Rocks, and in this week, I'm not really bringing any sort of hazard removal. I thought that heavy duty boots could be useful, and the other reason for this is, if I'm in a right spot, I think I can get a Flame Charge off, which can potentially boost my speed, make me faster than everything on the other team. If I get a Nasty Plot and a Flame Charge up, it's game over. There's really nothing that can really handle that after a Terra Fire. So the other thing here is I wanted the Nasty Plot to potentially boost my damage up further, because I'm not bringing Sun this week. And the main reason for that is I didn't want to give Iron Moth extra damage for its fire type attacks, and I also didn't want to give Roaring Moon a free photosynthesis boost. So even though my team is kind of Sun based, I thought that it might not be worth it this week. So I think the Nasty Plot hopefully can increase the damage for Archie. Last but not least, I talked about it already, so you guys already know, I'm bringing the Behemoth, Iron Boulder. Last week, put in a lot of good work against Muffins. Hopefully, gonna do it again this week. Mighty Cleave, Psycho Cut, Megahorn, and Sword Stance is coverage for the entire roster. 216 speed, 252 attack, and a little bit into the physical defense here. With the booster energy, I really think this is the best item for this guy in most situations. Again, if I get a Sword Stance up and Swampert is low, this guy can sweep. The only other thing that's really standing in the way is the potential Terra Wo-Chien. Depends on what Terra type it is, but it can be pretty scary. So the name of the game for me is chip Wo-Chien, chip Swampert, and let Iron Boulder win. So that is hopefully my win con, guys. We're going to find out if I was able to pull it off. Let's jump into the fight. Looking at the battle here, we've got our team on the left here, Gurt on the right. He's got Snorlax, Thunderous Incarnate, Roaring Moon, Wo-Chien, Swampert, and Iron Valiant. Honestly, most of the things that I thought were going to come this week, except the Iron Moth is not here. I did expect Iron Moth, especially with the Terra Ghost, to be a good answer to my team, because not only is it good offensively, it's good in the sun, and the Terra Ghost is a great body press answer for my Zamazenta. So at this point, I am really happy to see no Iron Moth here. However, the Terra Wo-Chien and the Swampert are both here, and as I said before, those are the main two things that I need to get out of the way for my Iron Boulder to win. So at this moment, I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to lead Empoleon, because I also see he has no hazard removal whatsoever on the other side. He did not bring Corviknight with the Defog, and he has no hazard removal. So if I get these rocks up, they're here to stay. So I figured, you know what, I'm going to do that no matter what. If people are boots, they're boots, but I'm just going to hopefully get my chip over time. And so yeah, right about now, I get a phone call from a person in my family, and obviously I didn't want to stop the game with GurtBilbo, so you're going to see I'm going to take a little while on some of these turns. I am a little bit distracted, but ultimately I do think I make the right decisions in these early turns. So here, looking against the Swampert here, he obviously could go for Stealth Rock, he could go for EQ. I don't get one shot by an Earthquake. I believe I have enough investment that I should not die to that unless it's like a choice band set or something. However, I also think there's a good chance that I could be faster than this guy, because I specifically EV'd my Empoleon to be slower than a lot of things for flip turn momentum, but not slower than Swampert, because I wanted to be able to act first. So in this spot, I'm thinking about my decision. Do I want to Stealth Rock or Grass Knot? And I end up going for the Grass Knot here because I think the chip on the Swampert is way more valuable than getting Rocks up. And I think if I am faster, which it looks like I am here, I should hopefully be able to get him up on the next turn. So you're going to see we get tons of damage here, like 75% off on the Swampert, which is fantastic. I am just absolutely ecstatic about this start because this is one of my 2 roadblocks for my Iron Boulder win con. So he gets his Stealth Rocks up. Unfortunately, we do not have hazard removal, so these are here to stay for the entire game. But now here I'm thinking, do I want a Grass Knot to kill this thing? Probably not. I think he switches, so I will just try and go for my own rocks here, and hopefully just, you know, both sides have rocks, and hopefully have an HP advantage. So he is going to swap out the Swampert, aka Mudblood. I don't know about that name, but comes into Snorl, which is going to be the Snorlax. This guy obviously would have tanked that Grass Knot very, very well, but we are just going to get our hazards up. And I know at this moment, I should be faster than the Snorlax, so here I'm just going to flip turn. It's really just who do I want to flip turn into. So I'm going to hit the flip turn, and Empoleon's going to get a little bit of chip onto the Snorlax. Not certain if he's leftovers yet. Clearly not Rocky Helmet though, so that's some good information. And now, who do I want to go into? In my mind, I think it's Fenrir. There is a chance that he could body slam me and potentially get like a paralyze on me, but I think this guy is just too good offensively into Snorlax. And without the Iron Moth Terra Ghost here, there's nobody unless it's Terra Ghost Wo-Chien, which I think he could do. I don't remember. There's nothing that's immune to body press. So I really like this setup here. So he goes for the Earthquake. It's going to deal very little damage, about 55, I think it was. And here I'm thinking, do I want to Iron Defense? Do I want to body press? I don't imagine that he stays in here with this Snorlax, but I'm thinking if he goes into Wo-Chien and I catch a body press on that thing, it actually could do a ton of damage because it is not Terra'd yet. So that is what I'm thinking here, is that body press is probably my best click. So he is going to swap out the Snorlax. Obviously, the body press is not going to hit him, unfortunately, but he goes into Nurse Destroy, and you're going to see this is the Iron Valiant. So this thing does resist body press, but it's going to take Stealth Rock chip, and this body press is not nothing. That's like about a quarter of its HP. So getting this thing chipped is always good. And here at this moment, again, I mixed between being on the phone and also trying to calc this at the same time. This turn takes me way too long to decide, but basically what I'm trying to figure out is, do I live a Moonblast? Am I able to go for Light Screen here because I have the weakness policy set? So ultimately I decide I am going to go for the Light Screen here. I think there's a good chance that this thing could be Scarfed, and I am going to see that it is Scarfed. This thing does not outspeed me unless it is, but I think basically a good mid-ground play for Gurt here. He goes for Psychic instead of Moonblast because he thinks I could potentially come into the Wheezing. However, he's going to see that this is going to proc my weakness policy. And now I know that this guy is Scarfed into Psychic and I have Light Screen up. So this guy cannot kill me on the next turn. So I'm thinking, who does he go into? I don't know what move he's necessarily going to predict me to click, but I know he's not going to stay in with his Scarfed Valiant because this thing is just way too valuable as a cleaner in the end game. So I'm thinking I could body press into almost the entire team. Like almost everything else other than this thing doesn't really want to take a body press. The only thing that can take it well is a Thundurus. And if I land a body press on it, Crunch will kill on the next turn. So that is my thought here. So even though it looks weird that I'm going to go for body press, this is my click here because ultimately I think it's better into every other mon. So it's going to go into Cat Thun D, and this is the Thundurus Incarnate here. So body press is going to land. It deals a decent chunk, and at this point, a Crunch at +2 should take out this Thundurus. So that is what I'm going to end up going for. Now, I know in this spot that there's a good chance that I could get paralyzed by a Thunder Wave. He is going to go with it with the Prankster T-Wave. And again, this is why I kind of wanted the Misty Terrain. But when I brought Zamazenta in and got the weakness policy procced, I really didn't want to switch it back out. I very easily could have went into Wheezing here. And honestly, that might have been the ideal play. It's hard to say whether it's worth it. But in the same time, I got rid of Thundurus here in this moment. This guy dies. I will say that there are multiple times throughout this battle where I forget that Thundurus is not alive. We'll go over that later, but the Thundurus is out of the way here, which means my Misty Terrain actually really doesn't matter anymore. But the thing that I was worried about stopping my Iron Boulder in terms of paralysis is gone. So the thing that's going to come in is the Papa Woach. This is the Wo-Chien. This is the other mon that I need to get out of the way for my Iron Boulder. Again, Swampert's already chipped. Thundurus is gone. I need to get this Wo-Chien low. If I can get all three of those things, Iron Boulder with a Swords Dance should end the game. So that is my thought in this moment. So here I'm thinking, do I want to Iron Defense? Do I Body Press? Neither one of Body Press or Crunch is probably going to do anything because I fully expect this thing to just go like Terra Poison or Terra Fairy. And either way, neither of these are good clicks. But ultimately, I also just kind of want to find out what this thing does, and I don't know how much value my Zamazenta has anymore unless I can just click Light Screen later. So with 2 turns of Light Screen up, I decide ultimately I'm just going to click Iron Defense. It'll just boost up how much damage my Body Press does on the next turn if I go for it. Honestly, I probably could have just clicked Body Press, but I thought if this is a set with Leech Seed and Protect, that maybe getting more damage on one single turn might be better than spreading it out, because Protect will kind of mitigate how much damage I do. So end up going for the Iron Defense. It doesn't matter because we get fully parried here. So obviously he doesn't see what move we're going for, which could be good or bad, really. Ends up going for the Leech Seed, which is a bit annoying. I don't really want to sit in here and take a ton of damage from this Leech Seed. He's going to recover with that and also with his leftovers. So this is a very stally Wo-Chien. If you guys have ever played against Wo-Chien, this is the king of stall. This thing just literally clicks Leech Seed and Protect, Giga Drain, and Foul Play, and it's just so hard to get rid of it. So ultimately, I'm thinking here, you know what, I need to go into one of my only mons that can break through this. And this is the main reason I brought Ifrit this week, was to break through this Wo-Chien. A Terrafire Fire Blast should do about 3/4 of this thing's HP. So that is why I'm bringing it in. I'm hoping not to see a ton of damage come off. It goes for the knockoff. A little bit annoying because I do lose boots. That means if I ever switch this thing out, it will take Stealth Rock Chip. And obviously he sees what my item is too, which I don't love. But that being said here, I think about it a little bit, but my only play here is Fire Blast. Ultimately, I'm just trying to do as much damage as possible to this thing. I could have clicked Nasty Plot, but my fear was that if somehow he switches into something else, that basically it would just be faster than me and Oko me. However, in this spot, I also can't really set up to like boost my speed. I'm sitting here thinking about this because, like, you know, do I want to go for a Nasty Plot, Flame Charge, and try and set up? But if he just Leech Seeds me, it doesn't really matter. Leech Seed will just kill me before I can ever really get that going. So the only real click here is to go for a Fire Blast. So I do make my move here. Gonna go with the Terrafire, gonna click Fire Blast, and I am hoping this lands. This is about 85% accurate, so there is a chance this can miss. To this point, Chiyu has not missed all season. Chiyu has not missed in the first 4 weeks, so I'm hoping that this goat keeps it going. I didn't even run Flamethrower this week because that's how confident I was in this Chiyu, and my confidence pays off here as the Fire Blast lands. This is going to deal an absolute ton of damage to Wo-Chien. It does not die, but again, close to 80%. And this is the other mon that I am worried about for my Iron Boulder, so I'm in such a good spot here. So it's going to get the Leech Seed off, which is annoying. It does have its leftovers. And now in this spot, I'm thinking, okay, this thing could go for Protect. If it does, my Fire Blast will kill on the next hit. I could switch out, predicting this Protect. However, if he just goes for Leech Seed again, or if he swaps into something else, I don't know if I love that position. So ultimately, in my opinion, I think it's still in my best interest to just click Fire Blast again. I'm looking through my options here, but ultimately that is what I decide to go for. So I think about going for a Nasty Plot here because I think there's a very real spot where he clicks Protect. However, I think about it and I think the ultimate like risk reward, it's not worth it. I need to just go for Fire Blast because if he switches into something and I don't get chip, I would really, you know, be upset about that. So he does show the Protect, obviously. This Leech Seed and leftovers are going to be annoying, but he's still going to be in range of another Fire Blast. The only problem, again, is this Leech Seed kind of bringing me down here, but as long as he doesn't get a double Protect, he's either going to have to switch into something else or die on this turn, assuming we land a Fire Blast, which, again, my Chiyu is the GOAT, so I believe that he is going to hit the Fire Blast every time. So he gets the Leech Seed and the leftovers chip. We're just going to go for Fire Blast. And I expect that he switches. He does go into the Snorlax here, which, if you guys don't know, has the Thick Fat ability, mitigates how much damage it takes from fire attacks. This thing is also very specially defensive, but I'm thinking this probably does what, like 40% at least still? Probably does a ton. Yeah, I was surprised. It does very little. It does like maybe 20%, and with the Leech Seed, it basically just makes it all up. I could not believe how well this Snorlax soaked these hits. I think it was a Salt Vest, but yeah, still absolutely insane. So now I'm thinking the light screen turns are actually gone here. So what I could do is I could do a couple of different things. I could potentially go into Anima, but ultimately that doesn't do me a ton. I didn't bring Will-O-Wisp here. I could go into Landorus, which is the move I end up going with because I try and pop the Intimidate. and just lower the attack, or I could go into Zamazenta to get a light screen up. So amongst those three options, I decide, you know what, Landorus is the best play here. I think he probably clicks Earthquake to try and just take out my Chi-Yu or get chip on something. He doesn't know whether I'm Levitate on Wheezing or not, so I figure Earthquake is probably coming in. If he goes for a Body Slam, I will take this well on the Intimidate. And Gurt makes an absolutely wonderful read here, as you are going to see, as he does not click Body Slam or Earthquake. He goes for Ice Beam, which is 4 times super effective in my Landorus. So this thing just gets absolutely chunked like crazy here. So in this moment, I know I can't take another one of those. In fact, I'm probably even in Body Slam range at this point. So as much as my Rocky Helmet would help, I think at this moment, since I'm faster, I probably just have to U-turn out. Based on the damage that I did with my Chi-Yu, I think this thing's probably Assault Vest, so I don't think Taunt really does anything for me, and he is going to switch. So at this moment, I'm thinking, please no Rocky Helmet Mon, because that would be very bad for me. He ends up going into the Swampert, and with the Stealth Rock damage, and because we are fully adamant, this is just going to take this thing out. So good and bad, as he is ultimately going to get the momentum here, because we're going to have to go into something and he can respond, but we do get rid of the Swampert, which again was one of the main threats. With the Wo Chien at about a half health, maybe 55%, I'm thinking, you know what, Iron Boulder might be in a decent spot for this game. However, in this spot, I said before when I was doing this battle, again, I'm not showing my real comm because it's really bad because I'm partially on the phone, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I was thinking that Thundurus was still alive. I completely forgot that Thundurus died. So I come in with the Wheezing here because I think that I need the Misty Terrain to stop Thunder Waves. And I don't. I really don't need this at all. So it's not a terrible play because he could easily just go Wo Chien if I go Iron Boulder, to be fair. I need to get a Sword Stance up and it can always foul play me here. But this was the reason that I went Wheezing, was because of the Thundurus and I want to get the Misty Surge up. And again, it's actually not relevant at all. So this was a big misplay on my part, but ultimately we can move around it. So he is going to go into the Snorlax here. And at this moment, I don't remember what my decision was or what I was thinking was going to come in here. Because the Misty Surge is up, I obviously can't go for status and he knows that. So with this thing being Assault Vest, I think what I was originally thinking was I was going to click one damaging move and then go for Misty Explosion after, I believe is why I clicked Strange Steam first. And I have the Eject Pack, if you remember. But in reality, I very much should have just clicked Overheat. There was no reason for me to click Strange Steam here. I took way too much damage from this Earthquake chip, and now I end up clicking Overheat anyway. So the Overheat comes off instead of the Misty Explosion, and if I miss this Overheat, I could potentially just lose my Wheezing for nothing. So yeah, I don't really remember why I went for that Strange Steam. I think it was just because it does more damage than Overheat, and maybe I was looking for chip. I don't know if there was a certain calc that I ran, but in hindsight, I think that was just a misplay. I literally should have just ran Overheat to get myself out of here, and just went into something else. So the Eject Pack is going to get rid of us, so that our Wheezing does still stay alive, and now I'm thinking, okay, what does he go for? If he goes for an Earthquake or an Ice Beam, I think there's actually a decent chance that my Fenrir can live it. And if it does, it could potentially get a light screen up to prevent damage coming out from the Scarfed Iron Valiant, and maybe that makes it easier for me to potentially set up my Iron Boulder or something like that in the future. So I sit here thinking about the Landorus a little bit, but ultimately decide to go with Fenrir to try and get a screen up. So I go into my Zamazenta here. He's going to come out. And at this moment, obviously I take the Stealth Rock chip, but I'm thinking there is still a chance I could live this. And he goes for Heavy Slam, and we live it. We live the crit, in fact. Leaves us with 3 HP, and I say, I'm not going to overthink this. I'm going to go for Light Screen. A Body Press would take out this Snorlax, and it looks like he's willing to give it to me here. But ultimately, I think getting the screen up is probably more important, because I thought he could have easily just swapped into Terra Fairy Wo Chien there. And the Body Press would not have done much. So I'm happy to get this screen up. I actually still really like this play that I went for here. So at this moment, I'm thinking, okay, this thing is pretty chipped, but my Ifrit still cannot kill this thing, which is just absolutely insane. That's how bulky this is. So ultimately, I think the only Mon that really has a chance to just KO this thing and put in some work here, I could potentially go Leviathan with a flip turn, but I don't think that'll do it. So ultimately, I think my Adamant Odin Landorus is the play here. Also, in this moment, I am sitting thinking about this play for way too long, for the simple fact that I said at one time I already did it. This is the second time that I forgot that Thundurus is not in the game. So I know that Earthquake kills here, but I was thinking Thunderous could switch in, so I was trying to calc whether a Stone Edge would kill here, or whether I needed to go for Earthquake. And I can see that Stone Edge has a chance to kill, but there's a chance that it could miss. So my thought is, do I risk the miss? In reality, Earthquake is the exact right play every single time. Thunderous is not alive, which means that he has no Earthquake switch in. So I'm going to click Stone Edge here, which is definitely a mistake. And again, I'm not making excuses. This was totally my fault. But this is what I get. I was distracted early in the fight, and I think because of that, I completely forgot that Thunderous is not around. So I go for Stone Edge, and thankfully, I hit it. So I don't get punished for this play. But I think at this moment, Gurt's probably thinking, why the hell did he go for Stone Edge instead of EQ? EQ is definitely a better play, so he might think that I might not even have Earthquake now, to be fair. He might think that for some reason I don't have it, although into his team, I don't know why I wouldn't be running that. So at this spot, I'm thinking Scarf Valiant probably comes in, is my thought. But there's also a chance that Roaring Moon could come in, because I don't really have a way to one-shot him. So one of these two Mons is going to come in. It's really just which one is it going to be. And so we're going to see the Night Fury come in, and this is the Roaring Moon. As we're going to see, it's not boots. It does take a bit of chip, and we can see that it is booster energy. So my thought is it booster attack or is it booster speed? And it is booster speed. Now, this is scary because this means if he gets a Dragon Dance up, he will outspeed every single Mon on my team, even booster speed Iron Boulder. And at this moment, he pretty much one-hit KOs my entire team. So my thought process was, in this moment, I'm going to click U-turn. As you can see, I didn't spend a whole lot of time thinking about this, because U-turn does almost as much damage as Earthquake does. And what this can do is it allows me to switch out and basically intimidate Shuffle. It allows me, after he gets his Dragon Dance up, I can go into my Wheezing and then bring Landorus back out. However, again, I don't know if I'm just distracted in this game or what. You're going to see I am now too low to switch back in. Stealth Rocks are on the field. I had to stay in and click EQ there. I literally 100% had to click EQ because U-turn does nothing for me. EQ does ever so slightly more damage. You're going to see how low this Roaring Moon is. Roaring Moon would have died to Rocky Helmet. Every single move that Roaring Moon has is a contact move other than Earthquake, which means that if I just stayed in and clicked Earthquake, this thing would have no way to kill my Landorus except for making contact and getting Rocky Helmet chips. So the Earthquake was 100% the play. And I just did this play way too quick. For how many plays I took way too long on, this was one that I went way too fast on. And it was a pretty big blunder in my opinion, because at this moment I'm thinking, oh crap, you know, I'm not Levitate. He can just EQ basically my entire team. And I'm realizing just now, this guy is too low to switch into Stealth Rocks. This guy's going to die. He's below 12.5%, which means my Intimidate will not go off. My Rocky Helmet will not go off. And everybody is probably about to die to an Earthquake. So even though I think I was actually in a really good spot for this game, I had a fully healthy Iron Boulder, a fully healthy Empoleon. I had Wo-Chien chipped down to half. I had Iron Valiant chipped down. Like, literally everything dies to a Swords Dance Iron Boulder, and most of the stuff dies in one hit. The only thing that doesn't is the Wo-Chien, but again, I have Ifrit who can kill it with a Fire Blast. So I'm thinking I'm in a great spot, but not clicking Earthquake and clicking U-turn instead, I think lost me this game. I know I hate to be spoiler here because there's 4 Mons still left alive, but I'm realizing every single thing dies to a +1 Earthquake. The idea of U-turning out and coming back in to Intimidate Shuffle, I think is a really good choice most times, but not being aware that I would have put myself in range to just die to Stealth Rocks was such a massive blunder, because this thing literally lives with less health than it would be taking from Rocky Helmet. So I'm going to fast forward through a lot of this. As you can see, he's going to Earthquake my Empoleon. This is the Mon I'm thinking has the best chance to live. It is going to die in one hit. Iron Boulder next on the field here. Earthquake again, going to take it out in one hit. Wheezing going to drop, and ultimately here at the end, Chiyu going to drop as well. So unfortunately, guys, I hope this was still enjoyable to watch with me doing post-com, but again, my commentary would not have worked for this fight. I was in and out of a call like at first, and then I just feel like I was very distracted and I didn't have good analysis during the fight, and ultimately I feel like this was just going to be better, me doing it this way. So ultimately, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to be 1-4 after this fight, which is really frustrating because I honestly think my prep was decent here, and I think I played the early game pretty well. Aside from the clicking Stone Edge instead of Earthquake, which was really dumb, I think like the biggest misplay for me here as we're going to come back to this video. I think the biggest misplay for me was me just clicking U-turn instead of the Roaring Moon. I mean, there were so many turns this game where I took a ton of time to think, and for whatever reason, I just immediately thought, oh yeah, U-turn, chip, and then Intimidate Shovel, that's the best play. But I didn't even literally look to think, you know, that I'm going to die to Stealth Rocks. And if I just stayed in, Earthquake does more than U-turn does, and you can see how low it was there. Rocky Helmet kills it every time. So then in the end game, I have a fully healthy Empoleon, a like half health Chi-Yu, which doesn't have its boots, and basically a fully healthy Iron Boulder to try and win the game. And against a chipped Scarf Valiant and a Wo-Chien, who is also just above half health. I believe in that scenario, because his Pokemon dies last, I don't know who sends out their Pokemon first. Like, I don't know if I send mine out or his out. So it might have been a coin flip. If he sends his Pokemon out first, I think I win that game every time. Because if he goes into Valiant, Valiant can't one-shot my Iron Boulder with anything. Like, I had already EV'd it out so that it couldn't die to one hit from anything. So even though it was Scarf Valiant, like, if he brings out Valiant first, I go Iron Boulder, I click Swords Dance, and I should be able to kill the Valiant and the Wo-Chien the next turn after. If he goes Wo-Chien first, I go into Chi-Yu, I click Terrifier Fire Blast, and I believe I one-hit KO that thing even after it protects and gets leftovers. If he switches into Valiant, it dies. So ultimately, it might have been like a 1-0 and very close. I might have come down to whether or not I land my Fire Blast, but my go to Chi-Yu is yet to miss, so I don't know. But yeah, GG to Gurt. I mean, he played phenomenal. This is the third time he's beat me. He's 3-0 versus me. So, you know, it's always a tough challenge. And I had a lot of fun doing this battle. I was just so disappointed in myself on the U-turn play versus the Earthquake. But that's the way she goes. Ultimately, all I can do is learn from it and, you know, move forward. So at this moment, while you're watching this video, you're going to know that I already played my first battle of the playoffs in the SPDA. I won't say anything further than that. But obviously, I've been locked in to try and, you know, do as well as I can in the playoffs for the SPDA. But however, this season in the PBA has not gone nearly as well as I wanted. Currently sitting at 1-4, and it's a 9-week season instead of an 8-week season. Realistically, the teams that we've played up to this point, aside from Muffins, have very good records. Like Ellie is undefeated. Like Jack has a crazy good record. Gurt is 4-1, and we play Pokebaldi next week, who is 4-1. So our schedule in the first 6 weeks is terrifying. However, if we can beat Pokebaldi and go to a 2-4 record, the last 3 weeks are all teams with losing records. And to be fair, in this season, in this league, no one is easy. Literally everybody is hard. Like every single matchup is hard. But what I'm saying is, I think we are still in it. I think we still have a chance. As crazy as it seems at 1-4, if we rip off 4 straight wins, I think we can make the playoffs. Top 6 out of top 12 make it, and I think a 5-4 record is probably good enough to do so. And the nice thing for us is that a lot of the teams that we have coming up yet to play are the teams that we need to battle through, like who are also competing with us in those spots. So it's a double-edged sword. If we lose one of the next 4 weeks, we're probably just out. But if we win them all, I think we're in. So we'll see how it goes. I expect to bounce back next week, and we'll go from there. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.